So I am glad to now introduce our next group of speakers to talk about the smart processing and project discover from TIBCO Labs. Today, first, you will hear from our customer Invitalia. So I want to welcome, there we go, yeah, Mario Ettorre. Mario is the Chief Data and, hi Mario. Mario is the Chief Data and Analytics Officer at Invitalia. Mario will tell us why process mining is important to them and how they leverage TIBCO for such purposes. I also want to welcome Nicolas Marzin. Nicolas is a Senior Director at the Office of the CTO at TIBCO. And Nicolas is going to tell us a little bit about the technology behind Project Discover and some of the updates on the roadmap for this year. So Mario, Nicolas, welcome. And let me start with you, Mario. If you could take a second and tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role at Invitalia.
Yes, thank you for the welcome. Can you confirm that you can see my screen and my camera, Jesus?
Yes, yes,
okay.
I can see you. Yes,
Yes, perfect.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Currently, I'm covering the role of a Chief Data and Analytics Officer at Invitalia, Jesus.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Mario. Thanks for being here. And how about you, Nicolas? What does your role at TIBCO entails? You can tell us a
Hi,
little bit more
everyone. Good
about
morning. Yeah, so I run the Office of the CTO for Europe for Nelson, and as well as the TIBCO Labs program. So I'm very happy to be with Mario virtually today and speaking to you all.
All right, perfect. Yeah. So with that, let us get it started. So Mario, let's get into the topic of the day. And if you could start telling us a little bit more about Invitalia and what you're trying to achieve. And I'll be happy to move on the slides. If you can just tell me when to proceed to the next one.
Yeah. Okay, Jesus. Invitalia is the national agency for the world investment and economic development, owned 100% by the Ministry of the Economy and Finance. Our mission basically is to support startups, small and medium enterprises, and even big ones in order to facilitate the economic growth. We can also be engaged by several ministries to manage some economic problems coming from geographic area. And because we are an in-house company of the ministry, we can provide IT solution and even services to any other government department and agency. So according to our mission, we are engaged very often to design and to manage some economic incentives, especially targeted to a cluster of companies, for example, manufacturing companies or cultural companies. In Italy, name like Arsud, Smart and Start, and Cultura Crea are very well known because are very common incentives that company can access in order to start their business or to grow their business. Today, I will show you something about Arsud, which is a specific incentives designed for those companies that want to start the business in South Italy. You know that South Italy is a very difficult area in terms of economic development. And improving our efficiency, improving our operational aspects in managing this kind of request that we receive and that we have to manage means that we can serve a greater number of company, a greater number of citizens. I prefer to talk about customers because for us, a citizen is a customer.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much for that, Mario. So let's double click on that for just a second and go a little bit deeper. And if you can tell us, a little bit more about the different approaches that Invitalia uses for process improvements.
Yeah. Basically, we started with some business question. When you try to do better, to do more, to do cheaper, the question that you have to manage generally are how we can discover our real process, because if we want to optimize the process, the best way to start is to get a very realistic, a very clean and very sharpened picture of the of your process. And so you can discover more about possible bottlenecks, inefficiencies and uncompliance. And so from this perspective, you could face some difficult question. In the past, this design, the reality of your process was managed by carrying on very long meeting, a very wasting time task. A lot of people have been engaged around the table, and anyone provided his own a vision about the process. The good news today is that this task could be supported by the process mining, which is a concrete data-driven techniques. Process mining starts by your precious oil, your gold, your data, and working and digging into the data can show you an effective, really understandable picture of the process. So you can detect very easily where the bottleneck resides, or what about the compliance. So the first step is exactly this: how I can get a realistic picture of my process in order to improve, in order to achieve the main goal, which is again the operational excellence. This is what we have in mind, the operational excellence.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and so I guess, you know, like when you talk about or you describe the approach to process improvement, I mean, process mining is very much part of the core of the methodology that you follow. Correct?
Yes. It's the core, the core of the methodology. The first step is, of course, to collect operational data coming from operational systems. Of course, we have to combine, we have to clean, we have to integrate. Very often, we prefer to build on top of this data cleaned a virtual view of the data, and this accelerate the application, the execution of a process mining algorithm on top. And so it's a way to discover not just how fast the process is executed, but the more concrete discover that you can do is how you work, the flow of the action. And this is what we do, executing a process mining on top of our own data. This enable us to discover more about the resources involved in the process execution, the costs that we have to pay to execute this process. I would like to say that this is a real cost-based analysis. I can measure the cost of that we pay to manage a single process.
That is very, very interesting. So it sounds like predictability is a huge aspect, right? In terms of, you know, being able to materialize or to predict the savings, right, that you're describing. So how does AI and ML then fit with process mining in the story that you're describing?
This is a very nice question, Jesus, because when you start to use a process mining, when we started to use process mining, the first time we discovered a group of cases called the variant. A variant is a way to manage a process which different operator follows. Okay, so is the same way to do something, so a variant. And you can do this by exploring your data. So you can discover variant, you can discover inefficiencies or bottleneck. Then just a step after, the question is, okay, we are going faster, we are going slower, we discovered it, but are we compliant with the global regulation coming from the government, and you can run the compliance. This is the second step. But When you discover that you are not compliant, or you discover a very horrible group of cases, so very bad performing cases, or very fast, too fast cases, or some outliers, the immediate following question is why? Why we have this horrible variant? Why we have this very fast or very slow variant? And
Right.
this is exactly the context when you need to perform some advanced analytics in order to extract a feature from your data set which explain what you discovered, the fastness, the uncompliance, and whatever. And more, when a new process starts, if you can predict something in terms of execution time, too low, too slow, too fast, the complexity and the cost, if you can predict something like that, you can manage better, because a very complex cases could require a great attention, a large number of resources. So that's why we started from the exploration, we stepped into the compliance, and we finalized with the predictive analytics.
That is very, very interesting. Yeah, certainly you cannot improve where you cannot measure. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And if I understand correctly, I think you have prepared a demo for us.
Yes,
So,
I prefer to see you live demo. And I don't know if my connection is so fast, but anyway, let me share my screen with you.
sure thing,
And
yeah.
what I'm going to present is related to a very important step of our process. You know that a lot of company come to us and ask for the money. And the first step is the money request approval or rejection is a very important step. Going fast and going in according with the compliance in this time windows means that we can serve a large number of customers. Now, I bring you back to the past, to the 2018, when we started with the process mining with TIBCO, and let me share my screen. Can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Let's explain just a bit what we are looking at. We discovered that if we go back to the past, let me recite my data set. I want to stop. Okay, to 2018. Okay, in 2018, we had more or less 300 cases, which means 300 requests, money requests that Invitalia received from their customers. Okay. And the system discovered more or less 500 variants. The variant is a way to manage this request. So cases managed in the same way belongs to the same variant, but don't care for a while about the variant. What we discover in a click is that the duration, the median duration of the approval, the analysis of this request took more or less 90 days, which is pretty good because the regulations say that Invitalia must to complete this task in 90 days, more or less. So we can say, okay, I'm satisfied enough, but we are not satisfied. We want to do better. We want to do better. So the question is, can we reduce this time? And do we have some bottleneck? Do we have something that we can do? Let's come with me into the variant analysis. The variant analysis show that we have a different way to manage the analysis of the request. This is a variant, and we have 87 cases which belongs to the same variant. But please, if we take the most representative variant, we can really show how we worked in 2018. It's really impressive because we discover again in Invitalia, we are discovering ourselves in the data. So we discovered that after receiving the request, we try to assign this request to an internal operator. This is the first step. And what we are looking at is that in a time window of 90 days, 22 days median value have been wasted to assign, just for the assignment is too much, is more or less 25%, just to find an available operator and the right operator, which is which can manage it. This is the first step. Then the evaluation starts. Then we perform the first check of the request, and then we try to plan the interview. Interview is mandatory because we need to have a meeting face to face with the company which is asking money. But something look a bit strange. We try to set this interview, and the system try more than once to plan this scheduling. So we have a loop. Okay, so what we can do is let me move just a bit this. Okay,
so,
we have
Mario, let me ask you a quick question here. So before using the solution, did you have any idea that this was happening, or this was like 100% like a new discover?
No, we did. No, we discovered this kind of issue, and me in person tried to discuss with my colleague, and I said, "Are you aware that you are wasting 22 days to assign?" Yes, I have this feeling, but it's just a feeling. But I'm not able to measure. But you know that if you are not able to measure, you can't control anything. So we are measuring, we are detecting in in very precise mode where the inefficiencies resides. So you can start your investigation. Thank you, Nicolas, for this precious feature that you implemented for us. And so you can say that this variant is affected by a problem. Why too many days to assign? Let me. Okay, you can create this issue. The issue is sent to someone. Now in the tool I'm playing roles of many users, but if you go here, you can see that I created an issue. Okay, and I can send it to the investigation. So the investigation started. Let me tell you the final step of the story. Okay, the story is that we found the problem. The problem was that this assignment was made manually. And so it took a lot of times because the people who had in charge the assignment was not aware about the real availability of the target people. So that's why it took a lot of time. So to fix this problem, we introduced an AI algorithm, is a dispatcher based on optimization techniques, which performs a semi-automatic assignment, just that. Okay, so it takes care about people, about the allocation of the people, and whatever, and it performs the assignment, and this assignment schema will be approved by a people, just the final approve. Looking into our data, our customer data, we found some quality issue. We fixed this quality issue, address, email, and whatever. And we tried after this optimization to execute again the process mining. And let's look at what happened in the following period. If I move the time window, we introduced this optimization during the last quarter of 2018. So let me put here. Okay, let me adjust something. Okay, let me filter. Maybe I can move here. Okay, we have more time, more cases. Let me catch also this. Okay. Okay,
And
let's discover together what happens.
And as we look at the fix here, Mario, something that partly would be interesting just to get your insight on how you've been able to quantify the savings after you have implemented some of these fixes, right? Is it in terms of
yes,
FTEs, in terms of other type of KPIs?
Huge amount. I can show you in using the maths. It's not my feeling, it's the maths. Let me show you how much we saving using that. I can show you on the graph. If you perform the same analysis that before, and you can pick again the most representative variant, this one. We reduced from 22 days to 4 days. You have to multiply this saving for 2,000, 3,000, several thousand requests. So it's very easy to compute the reduction. But another important thing is that we do not have any loop anymore here, because it was just a quality issue. Some email wrong, some contact wrong. So the system tried more than once to contact the beneficiaries, the citizens, and because we will not receive any answer, we tried more than once to contact him. So it's very easy, but it's very concrete. This is the reality. We stepped later to the compliance. I can show you how we perform with TIBCO process discover the compliance analysis. The compliance measure the gap between the regulation and the reality. Okay, but the good news is that we now are supported by an automatic tool. So the game is starts to define what is what is to be considered, what we can consider as a reference model. And generally, reference model comes directly from the regulation, from the government. But just to be easy, all those variants are considered feasible. Any one of these variants that we choose contributes to the reference model. So we defined this reference model, and this is what we consider possible. Okay, is legal, is admissible. Okay, so this is the reference model. Moving to the compliance analysis, you can discover how many variants present some outlierness, anomalies, and compliance. If I took, for example, this one, this variant contains 5 cases, and for some cases, some wrong activity has been executed by someone and is in red. What is green, it's okay because appears both in the reference and in the real model. But very interesting from my perspective is the blue one. The blue one is something which appears in the reference model but never happens in the reality. So the suggestion for who want to optimize the process is please reshape your reference procedures, because you never execute this kind of activity, and maybe someone put on top resources, activity, systems, so you can optimize by reshaping these files. I think that this is in a nutshell what we did and what we are doing now.
Yeah, this is really, really fascinating. Great example, and sounds like this is just the beginning of an amazing journey. So thank you for sharing that with us. And if it's okay, let's switch gears here for a second, and let me now switch to Nicolas. And if it's okay with you, Mario, let me take back control here so I can share my screen.
It was a great demo, by the way, Mario, and I cannot be more happy than to see my customer doing the demo instead of us. You know, it's always good when not just TIBCO or the creator of the solution demo, but when you see your customer doing the demo, that is really awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, certainly, I echo that for sure. So Nicolas, let's take a moment here, and if you can tell us a little bit more about then the project discovery, which is what it's been used here in the solution that Mario just showed us.
Yes, absolutely. So process discover and process mining is one of the very top priority projects for TIBCO Labs. TIBCO Labs is a program to innovate with our customer and our partners. So we're seeing a lot of customers currently revisiting that topic of process mining in order to help them better understand and quantify their processes. So what's really interesting is the data-driven approach is very attractive because it brings objectivity to the analysis. So we see use cases such as, for example, digital transformation, so process mining being the phase one, if you will, ERP migration, or even patient journeys for hospitals are just a few examples that really we see more and more. So what we did with TIBCO Labs is we work with initial customers, especially like Invitalia, and we created what we call Project Discover. So TIBCO is very well known for its strong product portfolio in domains like integration, data management, process management, analytics, and data science. So these are the three main ingredients, if you will, of process mining. So what we did really is to use the TIBCO Labs program to put to do three things. Really is put the customer requirement at the very front. Second is we recompose some of our product capabilities into a process mining experience. So that's the user interface that you've seen demoed by Mario. And then we took a very quick time to market approach using the Labs team and project approach. So now let me tell you a little bit of about how Project Discover works. So the slide you see on the screen is decomposed into three kind of phases. So first is we connect to your systems and we expose what we call the event log data, basically your data, across multiple sources. We use a technique that is called data virtualization. So we create a virtual data mart, if you will, that connects directly to your system. So the good news is that your data doesn't need to move from your system. So we avoid some very tedious ETL processes using data virtualization. Then in the middle, we run the process mining algorithm. We can run it on demand, or you can also schedule it often, whenever, how often you like. And then on the right side, we offer a very interactive visual exploration and quantification of metrics about your processes. It's very interactive and self-service, as you could see from Mario's demo. So you can really pick the visual you like, or the one that are most suited to your data, or the one that are suited to your consumer. Also, we can support multiple roles here. And finally, as Mario showed during the demo, we also allow to raise investigation, and in order to track the resolution of the underlying issues that you find during the process mining activities by the case resolver. So that's basically how it works.
Okay, excellent, yeah. So just to get your insight on this, how easy is to basically extrapolate or use process mining for different industries, for different use cases? How generic is Project Discover in general?
Well, you know, every organization has process problems, so we really see an interest pretty much everywhere. So we've been working with early adopters, such as Invitalia, so a government agency. We're working as well with an energy company. We have a hospital. We work with bank, insurance, and we see interest from telco, manufacturing. So really, almost pretty much the whole industries are good candidates for that. And it's also across the globe. So we started in Europe, as today we have this OSS Day in Europe, but we also see a lot of interest in Americas and APJ as well.
Excellent. And yep. Oh, go ahead, Nico. Yep.
No, I was just going to say that this is also part of a kind of broader story. So once you discover your data, as you can see, those kind of 3 steps, we help also documenting your existing. So if you think of an ERP migration, we discover how your business process is running in your SAP system in phase 1. Then we kind of document it using our Nimbus tool, for example, which provides documentation as the phase 2. The project doesn't automate the documentation creation yet, but we're working on it. And then obviously this is the whole point is to build also the business case for automation. So Mario described one example of that automation, removing that bottleneck and that loop. And as you know, TIBCO also can help you also in all the automation aspect of fixing the problem that you find using process mining.
Okay, perfect. So I guess, given that this is an open source event, the first question here is Project Discover open source? Does it leverage any open source frameworks or projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Nelson said, I think in the intro, most of the TIBCO labs end up as open source. So it's really a mix here in this case. So we the project assets, so all the TIBCO labs work is delivered as open source. So if you look at this cube, it's kind of the mix of some of the TIBCO pieces and some of the open source that exist and some of the open source that we created. So if we kind of split the different components, first is, so on the TIBCO side, you've got products. So we use data virtualization to connect to system and expose data. We use Spotfire. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. There's so much self-service and analytics need for process mining that we have been reusing this component in the solution. And then Live Apps has a very lightweight and super easy to use case management piece for investigation. So these are the three kind of product piece of the solution. Then on the other side, when we connect to the system and bring the data into Project Discover, all the compute of the algorithm and all the architecture that we built around it leverages, let's say, the right side of the cube, which is based on open source technologies and kind of cloud agnostic also technologies and cloud native. So things like Kubernetes services, Apache Spark, as well as a database. So this is where really the compute happens. On the data, and on the left side is more on where the visual exploration and connectivity happens. And then on top of that, we use something called TIBCO Cloud Starter. There's actually a session right after this one, I think, on the Cloud Starter. And this is really the glue where we created the UI, the user interface, the process mining experience that brings all together between the open source and the TIBCO side. So if you move to the next slide, I can talk a little bit about the architecture. So in general, this simplified architecture shows TIBCO stuff in blue, and in purple is the customer or partner infrastructure. So if you look at the cloud piece, this is using some SaaS services. So Spotfire is available as SaaS service, Live Apps as well. We host the UI also in our SaaS platform. Let's say the benefits of process mining is to help the business, let's say, explore and find insight in their processes. It's not in the management of the backend. So I think we think it's very suited for a cloud service. So on the cloud side, we use our SaaS services, and then on the bottom of the picture, you can run the data and own the data pretty much wherever you like. So what we did is we created a bunch of microservices, so APIs that supports Discover as the solution, and these are all open source. So one can really take the project and have all the backend in blue and encapsulated in purple, because you run it wherever you want, and all this part is really open source. So the API, the compute, we leverage a database, is the open source part, and you run it where you want. And then the data provisioning, we use TDB, which is, as I mentioned, the TIBCO product.
Okay, perfect. So if you can give us an idea, Nicolas, of the activity going on right now with the project itself, like a little bit on the roadmap side, what's coming up next for the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So this project is one of the most, if not the most, active one at Labs right now. So we've been really busy working on it, and I'm happy to introduce let's say version 2 of the project. We started the version 1 about a year ago with Mario and Invitalia, and now we have this project available for everyone in this kind of second version. So we introduce a new architecture. So all the open source, cloud native, API led. We also made the backend multi-tenant. So it could be very attractive for a partner, for example, to take this project and run it on behalf of their customer. And you could support multiple customers also. So you can share the same backend, or SaaS components are by nature multi-tenant as well. So everybody has its own kind of cloud organization, and we have a single version of the user interface that can serve all the customer, but as well as the backend. The single backend can serve all customer, and we manage the multi-tenant database as well. So this is a big part of the version 2. And then on the functional side, we added a lot of feature as well. So we kind of separated the notion of data sets from the process analysis, thinking that you could reuse multiple times the same data sets. You could apply different filters. You can do different mappings, for example. So there's a lot of reuse of a single data set that we enable. We introduce also some kind of advanced data preparation. So if you want to do filter, for example, before you actually run process mining. So not like Mario did in the demo, he was able to do the filter after you load the data, but in some cases you want to do it before you actually run the process mining analysis. So this is also supported in the new version. We introduced the notion of template. So the template are the visual Spotfire template that one can use. So this is very important because the best visual really depend on your data, and we don't know your data until you bring it to us. So we give you the ability through all the Spotfire, and you will have a session on Spotfire mods, which is also an extensible visualization framework within Spotfire. So on top of that, we allow you to create your own template. So really, you build the templates that are suited to your persona, to your organization, to your data, to the way you like to see those data. And finally, in this version 2, we also incorporated, as I just said, Spotfire mods. So the graph is more interactive and more in line with all the other Spotfire visualizations, as well as incorporated also the ability to configure your own investigation. So you can literally, in 10 minutes, you can create a new application for managing how you want to manage your compliance, for example, once you raise the investigation, and you can configure it into the UI as well directly. So that's, we've been very busy. So these are the 6 main aspects that we updated.
Excellent. Yeah, no, very exciting update. Thank you so much. And so I guess if you can just share some ideas on how to get it started, the best way to get it started with Project Discover.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the great Invitalia story that is online on the TIBCO.com webpage. We've got as well the solution page also on TIBCO.com. And then you can also look at the Git repository. So the version 2 is not yet on it, so it's still version 1, but within a few weeks, you should be able to see the version 2 fully published there. And then just reach out to us. I mean, the labs team is very happy and eager to work with more customers, get your feedback and get your requests. And that's how we work together. We put customers at the front of the program.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So, Mario, as we get to the end of this session, I want to gather your final thoughts here. If you can tell us, I mean, what are your thoughts on the collaboration with TIBCO? And just pretend Nicolas is not on the Zoom session right now. No, I'm just joking. No, yeah, but if you can tell us your thoughts on the collaboration with TIBCO. Yeah.
Frankly speaking, it was a really great experience to work side by side with a great team provided by TIBCO. Very high skilled person in terms of modern technologies, cloud native technologies, AI and machine learning approach. So they supported us doing that. The maximum level of availability on Saturday and on Sunday to finalize. So Firstly, I want to underline this. Then, why we choose TIBCO? The initial decision was to adopt a process mining tools. You know that on the market we have several possibilities, but Invitalia is not looking at a basic process mining. We do not need just a Petri network design. We are really aware that the great problem is the acquisition, the transformation, the logical modeling of the data, and then we have the Petri network. So when you solve the problem of data acquisition and the preprocessing, basically you solve the 70% of your own problem. And then what we need, as I told before, is advanced analytics and the predictive capabilities too. So we made the decision to start from a knowledge mining framework, open architecture, extensible, and then we put together process mining techniques into. So this is exactly what we were looking for, and what we are looking at for the future, on the basis of the results that we achieved. We are thinking to put process mining on top of CRM in order to measure, to understand better and deeper what happens in the interoperation with our customers. We are going to put process mining on top of e-procurement platform. And last but not least, I'm really interested in the application of process mining techniques for HR. It's not just a recruiting department and the onboarding process, but I'm much more interested to exploit process mining to measure, to understand what happens in terms of career path of people. And so this is what I planned for the next future.
That sounds super interesting. I mean, we'll have to have you again then, Mario, to come and present once you have like initiated some of those projects. You know, from my past experience with HR data, I mean, it's one of the most, you can find some of the most complex data sets for sure once you look at, you know, journey of people, right, or, you know, throughout decades, right, and all the different paths and different exceptions that you can find. So good luck with all those projects, and well, thank you again for being here today and for sharing with us all the insights on the solution and all the experiences that you have had with Project Discover. Nicolas, thank you so much for presenting on Project Discover as well, and we look forward to seeing you later on in the wrap-up session.
Thank you, Jesús. Thank you, Mario. Thanks a lot.
Thank you everyone. Thank you.